There are so many myths out there when it comes to building muscle. It's ridiculous. So today I'm going to tell you which ones are overrated and which ones are underrated. We're going to rate these muscle building myths and tell you which ones will help you build more muscle and which ones will make you small. All right. So the first one is you need to supinate your curls. So that means basically whenever you curl, you're turning up at the top. And I think this one overrated. Okay. Why is it overrated? So the function of your bicep is to twist your wrist. That's the function. That's the purpose of your bicep, is to turn the wrist, right? So when you do curls, it makes sense that you need to kind of supinate the wrist, right? Because you're going to get maximum bicep recruitment when you do that. However, I think it's overrated because that twisting of the wrist, especially when the weight gets heavier, can cause tendonitis. Okay, I've experienced that before. I've known a lot of other bodybuilders who have the same thing from supinating the bicep. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't do it at all. I'm just saying that you should probably limit those sets that you're doing it to. Maybe leave it just to your warm-up sets, just so you can really fully warm up the bicep. But when it comes to doing your straight sets, stop twisting that wrist. Just keep it in this position and keep the tension on the biceps. You don't have to twist the wrist to grow big arms. Okay? Number two, volume over intensity. And as I heard this recently, where you need to take sets below 7 RPE, overrated. Bull, loney. You need to train hard, man. If you're looking to build muscle, you need to really train as hard as you can. Taking sets below 7 RPE, which basically means you have about 3 reps left in the tank. So let's say I normally do 315 on bench press for 10 reps, and I stop at like 7 reps. That's a 7 RPE, meaning that I could have did 3 more reps. It just would have been harder. Now, people tell you that you need to do this because you need to get more volume in. Volume's the driver for growth, so you need to do more of that. And it's impossible to take hard sets to failure with a lot of volume. I think, like I said, that's overrated. Anything less than a 7 RPE is a warm-up set. I don't care who's telling you that. It's a warm-up set. I'd rather you keep the volume a little bit lower and you trained harder than that and you took sets closer to failure or like a 9 to 10 RPE. Basically, again, using my example of 315 for 10, I took that set 10. I couldn't do any more reps. That's it. I end the set there. That's perfect. Or if I did 9 reps, I have 1 rep left, so on and so forth. Anything less than that is just a warm-up or a waste of time. And if you're doing that, you're cutting your growth short. All right. Number 3, Mike Mentzer's HIIT training advice. I think it's underrated. And I don't agree with the low volume. But what I do think a lot of people need to take away from this is you need to train harder than you're actually thinking that you're training. And it kind of goes hand in hand with what I just said with number 2. But you need to train harder than you think you are, right? Most guys, and you watch some of these guys train online, they take sets, they're using machines, and they easily have 3 or 4 reps left, and they're stopping the set short. You need to train harder than that. And that's why I think Mike Mentzer, Dorian Yates' advice is underrated, because I think it opens people's eyes into thinking and knowing that they can actually train harder than they can. I've said this before in other videos, but quality sets over the quantity of sets, for sure. If you're getting good stimulus out of 6 sets per body part per workout, there's no reason to do more. It doesn't necessarily mean that if you do more, you're going to gain more. So for example, a recent study came out where they talked about doing 52 sets per week for 1 body part in order to enhance growth. What most people really don't talk about, though, is all these guys chase these science studies and they chase like, oh, this is more optimal, so I got to do this. In reality, your body's only going to deposit a certain amount of amino acids into your system at a time, and you can only gain a certain amount of muscle anyway. Let's say that throughout the course of the year, a good amount of muscle to gain if you're doing everything right is 5 to 7 pounds, right? Just say an average person, 5 to 7 pounds of muscle a year is what you're going to put on your physique, right? That's just standard, okay? So if that's the case, and you do 52 sets of body part, whatever, if that's what the science says, are you going to gain 9, 10 pounds of muscle doing it? No, not necessarily. You may get the same amount versus if you did 10 sets. Are you going to gain less because you did less work? No, it doesn't work like that because, like I said, your body's only going to deposit a certain amount of amino acids a day toward building muscle. It's just the way it works. Doing more doesn't necessarily mean more muscle. Quality sets over the quantity of the sets that you're doing. Okay? The next one. This guy's a big influencer. Sam Sulek. Overrated or underrated? I think this guy is underrated. I actually really appreciate his advice, his style of videos, because I think that his advice is spot on. Again, going back to what I said for the last two, he does 8 hard sets of body part and he walks out of the gym. He's done. Quality sets over quantity of sets. I think he gives good advice when it comes to nutrition. He's pretty basic and simple, which I love. A lot of people nowadays overcomplicate fitness. Like, it's not this complicated to grow muscle. You need to eat calories, you need to eat your protein, you need to train hard. That's it. You'll grow. Doesn't matter how many sets you do, just find what works for you and stick to it. And this guy is doing that. He's sticking to the basics. He's keeping it as simple as possible. He's training hard and he's growing. And I think his advice is really underrated. I think a lot of people, if they watched him, would get way more out of their training than following some of these other science guys, you know, talking about long length partials and anchoring themselves and all this other stuff that they're talking about. I think Sam Sulek, like I said, underrated. Give him a follow, definitely worth it. Arnold's Encyclopedia of Bodybuilding, the Bible. Overrated. Maybe it's just for me, this is overrated because I've literally have been looking at opening this book for over 20 years and going back to it constantly, but it's overrated. Again, a lot of extra fluff in that book because it's just like there's just keeping it as simple as possible. Train hard and eat. There's no magical movements. It's whatever you feel. You know, the good thing about Arnold's book is it gives you a lot of variety for the different body parts. But again, you need to focus on the movements that you feel and train them really hard. That's it. And eat. That's as simple as it gets. And I think he complicates a lot in there. I think his training system is complicated for most people. I think it's a lot of volume. Again, I followed it. I've taken things away from it. I'm not saying it doesn't have merit, but I just think it's overrated. And like, if you watch Sam Sulek versus picking up Arnold's Encyclopedia, I think you would get way more out of Sam Sulek than Arnold's book. All right. And the last one, supplements. Supplements. I mean, this is pretty straightforward. I could probably end the video right here, right? Supplements, overrated. Why are supplements overrated? They make up less than 1% of the equation, which means that all of your results are going to stem from, again, hard training, eating enough food, not what supplements you take. Test boosters, blood flow stuff, the creatine that everybody's pushing, all this other stuff, nonsense. You don't need it. If you follow my advice that I give you, switch out your chicken for your beef. You're going to get enough creatine. You're not going to need to take extra creatine. You can. It's cheap enough. But the purpose is that supplements are not going to be the thing that's going to take you there. And the reason why I bring this up is because I've wasted so much money on supplements, especially when I was younger and I just started, because I thought those were going to be the things that pushes me to the next level. And it did further from that. It actually just made my urine very expensive. So avoid supplements. I don't think you need them at all. I would say don't even look at them. The one thing that I do like, though, that I do think has a little benefit, you could probably get away with this very cheap, is a pre-workout. And the reason why I like a pre-workout is because of the caffeine. So you could have easily a cup of coffee, take a caffeine pill, and have the same effect as taking a pre-workout. But that's it. Supplements, overrated, guys. And if you made it this far into the video, I have a free gift for you. A free 6-week training program that I want to give you, no strings attached. And the reason why I want to give it to you is because I want to help you to build as much muscle as possible. So click the link below and just download that program. This was Anthony, AB Fitness. I'll catch you on the next one.